Mild weather. David?
Calm but hot, Chet. This is traditional summer weather. Hazy, hot, and humid. Possible thunderstorms in the forecast. That may not make you think of severe weather, but those thunderstorms could bring damaging wind, hail, even tornadoes. It may seem amazing, but in terms of variety, Massachusetts may be the worst state in America for severe weather. And there are serious questions about whether we're ready for it. They may have more severe tornadoes in the Midwest. They may have more ferocious hurricanes in the Gulf Coast. But no place in America gets hit with every kind of severe weather the way we do here in Massachusetts.
From hurricanes to coastal floods to forest fires to tornadoes to blizzards, ice storms, we get the whole ball of wax, and that's what we have to be prepared for everything.
We get between 3 and 5 tornadoes a year here, deadly tornadoes. 3 people were killed in the Great Barrington tornado in May. The second deadliest tornado in American history was here in Massachusetts in 1953 in Worcester. 97 people were killed. 15,000 were left homeless. How well can the forecasters predict this kind of weather and warn us? Now, equipment like this new special Doppler radar is giving them greater and greater power.
Now we can actually look into the storm and see whether the wind is coming toward you or away from you.
This is the Great Barrington tornado before it even came down out of the thunderstorm that spawned it. They saw the tornado several minutes before it touched the ground.
You're seeing green, the brightest shade of green, coming toward the radar, which is located out here in Taunton, way out to the east-southeast here. And red right next to it, going away from the radar. So strong inbound velocity and strong outbound velocity right next to each other, indicating rotation right in that region and a tornado.
The new Doppler radar can spot tornadoes as much as 20 minutes before they touch down, critical warning time that can save lives. Tornadoes hit every county in Massachusetts, but there's a reason why most of them hit the central and western part of the state. As thunderstorms slide down the hills there, they get more turbulent. The more turbulent they are, the more tornadoes those storms can create. There are fewer tornadoes further east because when the thunderstorms get closer to the coast, air coming in from the ocean calms the storms down. We get 24 damaging thunderstorms a year here, and the most damaging kind of storm of all, hurricanes. These are just the ones that have hit Massachusetts since 1950, since they started naming them. The most damaging hurricane to ever hit Massachusetts was before that and did not have an official name at all. It was called simply the Great Hurricane of 1938, and it killed 600 people.
Struck with winds almost 200 miles an hour. Tidal waves 30 to 40 feet high.
Forecasters say we could face something like that this summer.
We're now seeing some signs that we may be above normal this coming season with 12 storms that are named. In other words, it'd be at least of tropical storm strength or hurricane strength, 8 hurricanes, and perhaps 3 of major intensity of a category on a scale 1 to 5 of a 3, 4, or a 5.
Now, with those kinds of storms on the way, another thing the National Weather Service is doing is updating its technology to warn us about severe weather. The way it works now is they alert the emergency broadcasting system network of radio and TV stations, and then if those radio and TV stations retransmit the message, we get it out in the real world. But if there are technicians on duty who don't retransmit it, and a News Center 5 investigation found that on weeknights and weekends when there are less trained technicians, that's what happened. The message doesn't get retransmitted. People don't get the message. The Weather Service is putting in a button at its headquarters that when they hit it, that warning will automatically interrupt every radio and TV station that's on, and everybody who's listening will get the warning. Chet, back to you in the air conditioning.
David, I was fascinated. How can that forecaster look ahead toward the entire summer and suggest that we may be in for a bigger number of tornadoes or hurricanes this summer?
Well, tornadoes they can't, of course, because they're sudden and out of thunderstorms. But hurricanes, they can look at things like the ocean temperature off Africa where they're spawned, rainfall on the African continent, sea surface temperature and level on the equator, the places that generate the energy that arise into tropical storms and hurricanes, And the circumstances all look like they are favorable for more hurricanes than we've had. And another forecaster said that even if we have a normal season, it will seem busy because we've had lower than normal hurricane activity for the last decade or so.
All right, David, what do you look at tomorrow?
Hurricanes. With all of those warnings coming, are we ready? We had Hurricane Gloria and Hurricane Bob that kind of fizzled out by the time they got here. And a lot of experts are worried that we don't really think a hurricane is all that big a deal and we're not ready. Tomorrow we'll look at readiness and how to get ready at home.
All right, David, that's it for this edition of News Center 5. We'll be back at 6.
See you then.
All right, the deal Sox fans have been waiting for. They made a major move to strengthen their bullpen tonight. During their game with the Twins, the Red Sox made a deal for Twins closer Rick Aguilera. Aguilera was actually called in from the bullpen during the game. He dressed and left the park. Now, in exchange, the Red Sox will have to send Frankie Rodriguez and a player to be named later to the Minnesota Twins. There's a shot of Aguilera. Actually, our affiliate in Minneapolis met him in the parking lot outside in street clothes. He got in his car and just drove away. Had they waited another half an hour, Aguilera would have been a 10-5 year man, 10 years in the major leagues, 5 with the same team, and he could have vetoed the trade. So by about an hour and a half, he's dealt from Minnesota to Boston. He was on the Twins World Championship team in '86, and the Mets won in '86, I should say. How could I forget that? And the Twins championship team in 1991. All right, as for the game itself, the Sox started off swinging tonight. Second batter of the game, John Valentin. Home run to left field, 13th of the year. Nobody on base, unfortunately. Next up, Mo Vaughn, 24th home run of the year. Nobody on base, unfortunately. Solo, 2-0. Minnesota hits home runs. They have men on base. One on for Pedro Munoz. 5-2 Minnesota. And get this, the Red Sox hit 2 more home runs in this game, both of them by Troy O'Leary. 4 home runs in the game, 4 runs to show for it. They lose it 6-4 the final. Bad news, Detroit wins. They are within 3 games now. Yankees are losing to Texas in the 7th inning. Baltimore pulls within 7 games of the Red Sox. Milwaukee wins over Oakland, and Cleveland continues to pile it on. All right, former Celtic Don Nelson back in the NBA, named coach of the New York Knicks today. And Wimbledon women's finals are set. Steffi Graf will go against Arantxa Sanchez Vicario, both winners today in their semifinal matches. Check out Sanchez Vicario. Watch this. She just sends a lob right into the net, and this is a gimme, right? Oh! First Wimbledon final for Sanchez Vicario. She's happy. Steffi Graf, 5-time Wimbledon winner, 7th time in the finals now for her. She lost the first set to Yana Novotná today. How do you stop that? How'd you like to have that in your repertoire? Graf, though, came back in the final 2 sets to blow her out, so she is back aiming for a 6th Wimbledon crown. And at the Sports Museum tonight, statue of Harry Aganis unveiled, sculpted by Armand Lamontagne. At a classical BU in the Red Sox, Harry Aganis died suddenly 40 years ago last week at the age of 26 while a first baseman for the Red Sox.
I remember 5 home runs in the right field bleachers and 1 homestand, and I think he was on the way to being the all-star first baseman in the American League for 10 years. But I still think he was a better football player. He had a great smile and warmth to him, and everybody liked him. I did the eulogy for him in Washington. Boy, that was the toughest thing I've ever done. That was my saddest day in sports.
He was such an athlete and a fine person. People could not believe Harry Aganis could die. They said if Harry could die, anybody could die.
Young.
So young indeed. All right, Mike, thanks. That's all the time we have. Nightline is next. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Have a good night. See you tomorrow.
Good night.